Hey everyone. Today I want to talk about plugins, or more specifically, not getting plugins or not getting caught up in the whole I gotta buy a bunch of plugins thing. I'm on a bunch of Facebook groups for engineering and mixing and stuff like that, and I'm constantly seeing people just going on and on about buying more plugins, or what plugin do I need to do this, or what plugin do I need to do that. Look, folks, most of the plugins you need are actually already in your DAW. In fact, there's this mixer I know who just works with regular stock Pro Tools plugins, pretty much for the most part. And he's worked on a lot of huge records, continuously for years. He was working on hit records before I ever charted on Billboard or anything like that. I'm not going to mention his name because I didn't ask him permission and he may not want people knowing that. And why is he so good at what he does? Well, probably because he spent most of his time actually learning how to mix and learning how to use the tools he already had instead of spending a bunch of time constantly experimenting, jumping from one plugin to another, and then you just get caught up in experimenting and playing around instead of actually getting work done. You know, we're supposed to have some output here. It's kind of like these guys I know on their computers. They spend all their time messing with the computer and trying to get the speed up and clocking things instead of actually doing the work. Like, you know, in this field, we're supposed to just get the work done. And you're always seeing people ask, what's the best plugin for this? Or what's the best plugin for that? And I use this plugin for this, you should try this. And, you know, almost every time I've gone and gotten a plugin that somebody just raved about, or at least tried a demo of it, I found that it just didn't do what they said it was doing for them. Because why? I'm doing a bunch of other things in my process that's changing what I have. You know, he's probably doing something that makes that plugin work for him. Doesn't mean it's going to work for me. And I recently had somebody refer to his plugins that he'd been buying as an investment. Investment? Come on, man. This is software. These are not investments. These are just costs. These are just expenditures. You want to know what an investment is for your studio? Let me show you what a real investment is. Check this out. This is my Neumann TLM 170 that I got probably in the early to mid 80s. I've used it forever on different sessions, and it sounds great. And you know what? I think I paid $800 for this thing. I could probably sell it for that much or more right now, and it still works. It's a little banged up. Great mic. These right here are a couple of my distressors. I've got 3 of these things. Man, I think the first one I paid $800 for. They're now going for a bit more than that. I use these constantly. I got my first one in the 90s, right when they came out. Still working, still using it every single day. This is my Bill Lawrence guitar. Not many people have heard of these guitars, but I think I paid, $800 for this thing. I've had it since the early to mid 80s. The only thing I've ever had done to it is have this custom Mullinax pickup put on it. Still use it all the time. And it's gonna last me the rest of my life. It doesn't need to be upgraded. You know what I'm saying? You can't say that about your computer. Here is this Flanger 670. This thing was, I think, made in the 70s. I'm not really sure. I've had it so long I can't even remember. Doesn't need upgrading. You just plug it in and it works. Sounds amazing. I've also got this headphone power amp that's at my other studio. This is not the one I own. This is a picture of it that I found online. It's a Rane 12 headphone power amp that was on at my Zone studio almost every single day for 25 years. And then recently this year it started getting a little weird where some of the jacks don't work. But man, 25 years plus, and I bought it used. Never even changed the fuse in it. And of course, buying a good mic pre is kind of hard to beat. Here's a couple of cappies, which are kit built. I made them myself, and a Neve clone. These things are going to last me for decades, but I think you get the point. So let's look at some of these stock plugins that we got here. I'm going to show you some stuff from Pro Tools and Ableton. Check it out. This right here is the Pro Tools 7-band EQ. I actually use this thing all the time. I actually used it on a record that I won a Grammy for, and I used it a lot on that record. Use it here on, most specifically, the stand-up bass, because I needed to do a bit of automation. I needed a lot of bands. I needed to be able to, do some really tight bandwidth stuff. And look at this. Look how much you can sweep it. It's it's got a lot of functionality on it. I also really like the Pro Tools compressor. Let me show you something here. I'm just gonna do a really quick demonstration. I do like this Manic compressor here. It does some savage stuff, but it's not like I can't do a lot of that with the built-in Pro Tools plugin. I do use this stock plugin in Pro Tools a lot. Check it out on drums here. And check it out on some vocals here.
Because now the chains that bind me ain't the kind any man has made. And the prison that I'm living in, well, it's gonna be my grave. There ain't no doors, there ain't no locks, and there ain't no getting out. As long as this blood stains my hands and a man lays in the ground.
And then here, look, this is Ableton. Look at this Ableton EQ. I mean, I love this thing. It's actually the main EQ I use in Ableton more than anything else. I mean, look at this. I think it sounds pretty good, you know? Another example is delays. I know there's some cool ones out there. I do like the Echo Boy plugin is pretty dang cool. I like the Valhalla stuff, has some good delays on it. But man, you can do some really great stuff with this built-in Ableton EQ. Check it out. I can filter the heck out of this thing here. Look at this. It's got built-in filtering on it. Now, I normally, if I really want to go crazy with it, I add an EQ after the delay. And if I really want to get wild, check it out. I can throw some distortion on it. And voila, I've got a cool, weird sounding delay. Here, let's do the same thing in Pro Tools. You know, I can just throw the the most commonly used delay I use in Pro Tools is the standard built-in delay, because I can just model it the way I want it. Just using the stock stuff here, I can get some neat stuff.
Some old buddies of mine who spent time going down the wrong roads. I found out where he'd been hanging around, and I moved in like a ghost. From the edge of the woods under the porch light glow, I saw him come out for a smoke. And nobody ever even heard the shot, 'cause they were too fucked up to know. So then I took him to a holler where the sun don't ever shine. I found a den of copperheads and I left him with his kind. And to this day I ain't told a soul. I think I'm losing my mind, walking around singing the truth and painting it as a lie. Because now the chains that bind me ain't the kind any man has made. And the prison that I'm living in, well, it's gonna be my grave. There ain't no doors, there ain't no locks, and there ain't no getting out. As long as this blood stains my hands and a man lays in the ground.
The main point I'm making here is don't get caught up in all the plugins and the software. Spend your time trying to be good at what you're doing. Spend your time learning about mixing and how to use your ears. That is hugely important. But even more important, spend time learning how to write good songs and spend time getting great performances. In fact, some of the things that I worked on that had the biggest impact on my career, I hardly had any gear. Like most of the early rap stuff I did in the late 90s and early 2000s that changed my life, I only had a couple microphones, and I hardly had any Pro Tools gear. As a matter of fact, some of the early Little John stuff we did on ADATs, and I mixed on a Ghost console. I mean, I just didn't need all the gear. But why did it work? Because they were good songs. They impacted people. They moved people. Another example of something that changed my life was a band called Grout. I worked with them in the early 2000s. At the time, I didn't hardly have any gear. Like we even did that record using a crate amplifier and a really crappy bass. We just hardly had anything. And you know, the band didn't get the record deal and all that, but it changed my life. A lot of people heard those records and years later were still hiring me based on what I did on that stuff. And I don't even think it's my best sounding stuff, but you know what? It's some of the coolest sounding stuff I ever did and some of the best songs. And at the end of the day, that's what matters. People are not listening, you know, for every little detail in the sound. They're listening with emotion. That's what the most important thing is. Like, don't get so caught up in the gear that you forget about the emotion and the vibe and what was the whole point of this thing anyway? You know, I mean, come on. So I'm not saying to not try out new plugins and experiment once in a while. In fact, I am going to do a video about third-party plugins that I like a lot, that I think are pretty cool. But what I am saying is, there's not a single plugin out there that's going to make you a great producer or great mixer. The things that are going to do that are your skills, your willingness to work hard, great performances, and great songs. Thanks for watching. Remember to hit the subscribe button, check out my other videos, and come back for more.